Hello, everyone. My name is Bernard Mutcha. I'm the chair of Staffordshire branch, and welcome everyone to the summer school organized by IOSH Chiltern branch in collaboration with other Midlands and East region branches. So today's session is a joint event hosted by IOSH Staffordshire and Chiltern branches. Topic for this session is safe use and management of lifting operations and equipment. And before I actually hand over to Liz Hancock, who is the Staffordshire branch committee member, I would like to clarify some Zoom event rules. So first of all, the session is being recorded and subsequently will be available on IOSH YouTube channel. Everyone, please remain on mute and please put your questions in the chat box. Now I hand it over to Liz and our speakers for introduction and further presentation and practical demonstration. Liz, over to you.
Thank you, Bernard. Welcome, everyone. My name's Liz Hancock. I'm Group Head of Health, Safety, Environment and Facilities for Unipart Rail. I'm going to be talking you through my experiences and our experience as an organisation on lifting operations, lifting equipment regulations. We're going to have a bit of a practical demonstration and I'm just going to introduce my colleagues. Alex.
Hi, my name's Alex Kusharawi. I'm the workshop manager here at MetLase, where we are today. Thank you.
Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm design and development engineer at MetLase. I work down in the workshop basically.
And we've got Colette.
Hi, my name's Colette Graham. I'm Head of Health and Safety for Unipart Logistics and the NHS supply chain.
Okay, so when the Chiltern branch asked me to, or asked the Staffordshire branch to support, I really took some time to reflect on my experience with LOLER. And it's pretty much hit every area of every business that I've worked in my sort of 20 years of health and safety. Starting off in the shipyards, in shipbuilding and ship repair, we had some really complicated lifting plans, lifting engines onto boats, lots of complexities with people liking to hide the specific lifting equipment in their locker. So when you have your insurers coming on site, having to get them out of lockers and those kind of things. And then, moving into the care sector, things like personal lifting hoists and that kind of thing. And pretty much, I'm thinking pretty much every organisation has got some element of lifting operations, whether it be a passenger lift, a goods lift, anything like that. So as health and safety professionals, we all need to be obviously fully aware and up to speed and up to scratch. Now, in some organisations, it might be that your facilities department look after the thorough examinations and the servicing elements, etc. But obviously, it's a collaborative effort. We all need to be working together. So I was also thinking about LOLER regulations in the fact that it's probably one of the nicest pieces of legislation, I think, in that it's quite prescriptive. Most health and safety legislation is goal setting, it's objective setting, it's all about, risk and there's lots of, accountabilities onto the employer to make the decisions, whereas LOLER, is very, very prescriptive. We know that if we carry people, we have to have a thorough inspection every 6 months. We know that if we aren't carrying people, it's every 12 months. We know that we have to have our safe working loads on machinery. Very descriptive about when lifting apparatus is used in different ways. You still have to have your safe working loads marked on them. So I quite like that about the LOLER regulations. I think it's nice and clear, isn't it? And also thinking about how we apply it at Unipart across all of our different divisions, actually, in terms of logistics, MetLase. We have some really, really complex and different environments that we work in. So, for example, we have forklift trucks. I think in total our fleet exceeds 300. We have a variety between VNA, we have flexi trucks, we have counterbalance, various different things. In our manufacturing sites, we have overhead cranes, we've got A-frames, gantry cranes. I mean, we pretty much have a lot, really. Yeah. So I'd like to think that, we've got it sort of, we've got it down. So we are, how we operate within Unipart is that we have a set of core principles called the Unipart Way. and safety is incorporated into that. So it's not just about health and safety. We include quality, we include environmental sustainability in all of our processes. And it starts really at the top with risk assessment. So here at MetLase, we have a risk assessment for our workshop. And part of our workshop activities is lifting sheets of mild steel. So what we do is we lift the steel and we put it onto a laser cutter, and that's where we're going to get in today about our safe operating procedure. So originally, we looked at the process. We could have done that manually, so we could have done that with a 4-man lift, but obviously in terms of the hierarchy of control, we chose that we would prefer not to do that. And obviously to install an overhead gantry and vacuum lifter. So we obviously we've done our risk assessment. What we then did is I will be sharing my screen just in a moment. I'm going to bring the safe operating procedure up for everyone to have a look at, and then obviously we're going to demonstrate a practical. So yeah, that was the process. So we could have done this manually, but we decided obviously hierarchy of control to take it down a vacuum lifter route. We obviously canvassed the market, decided which one that we went for, and then obviously came and had it installed, and we wrote our SOP from there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share our SOP, and I'm going to talk through that with you. Just a safety check, Brenton, can you see that? Excellent.
Yeah.
So like I say, this is a standard operating procedure, a Unipart way core tool, and it is pretty much a step-by-step guide on how to conduct a lift properly from a quality point of view and from a safety point of view. So we've made it, we've got our safety guidelines at the top. So we talk about the sweeping of the crane area beforehand. So we don't allow the hoist to run from side to side. We've got end stops on it. Here we then take our staff through the sort of key parts of the lift and operation and the actual machinery involved. We then talk about pre-start safety checks. So every time we use the machinery, we check it firsthand, don't we? And again, as part of the practical, we'll show you what that actually looks like and how we do it. We keep our LOLER inspections on our wiki page. Our wiki page is our integrated health and safety management system. And then obviously we have our inspections for all the equipment that comes with it. So like the chains and the hooks, etc., etc. So generally, we don't lift anything over, is it 100 kilos, something like that, Alex?
The hoist and gantry, the safe working load is 200 kilos. However, the vacuum beam weighs 65 kilos. So we do sometimes use the hoist and gantry on its own. So we know that safe working load, but on the vacuum beam itself, it says 135 kilos maximum. But we don't lift any sheets over 75 kilos at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. So we visually inspect the hook, clasp and chain for any damage beforehand. We visually check the electric cable for damage and fraying. And again, during the demonstration, we'll show you how that actually looks. Obviously, we look at the gantry itself. We look at the pads that lift up the machinery. So if you see that here, again, there's a really good demonstration on the video of how we do that. We're looking for tears and splits. And then obviously we check every part of the condition of it. We then go into checking that the operation works. Really important to us that we check the emergency stop system. And as we write the SOP, we train that out to all of our staff. So we make sure that they do that. So obviously we then end the pre-start safety check. We then go into operating the piece of equipment and doing our lift. And we're quite happy to share this with everyone as well at the end of the event, so you can have a look and have a look at our SOP and see what we do and how we do it. And obviously then I think the best thing we need to do really is just jump into the video, if that's all right, Melissa, and then we can show you the practical demonstration of what it looks like and how it all works.
Okay, great. Do you want to stop sharing?
Sure.
So, play the video.
Hello, welcome to MetLase.
This is our workshop. I'm the workshop manager. My name's Alex. We're just going to pan around now and let you see the equipment that we've got in here and then get an idea of what we do. Okay. So you can see we've got a deburr machine down there that we use to deburr the material. There's a press spray there, 100-ton capability for bending the sheet material after we've cut it, if it's required, of course. And the CO2 laser, which we use to cut the material itself. And next to that is our metal storage area, and we have a vacuum beam attached to a hoist which we use to lift the sheets of material onto the laser bed, and that's what we will be looking at today. Okay, to start with, we need to make sure the equipment we're using has been inspected, has been serviced, etc. And the way we do that is through a digital console. And you can see here we've got all the information, it's visual for everybody in the workshop to be able to see. This particular one here is our maintenance status. So this is the front sheet of it, and it's got the status of all the bits of equipment that we have, and also when things are due or overdue or whatever. And depending on the colour, we know whether it's imminent or whether it is overdue. And as you can see, we've got a few things that are coming up. We've got a chiller clean and level check, etc., etc. So we know with the lifting equipment, which is here, that it's all up to date, it's all been serviced, and it's all been checked. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be lifting a sheet of material off this rack here and onto the bed of the laser ready for cutting. So before we do that, we've got a plan. So we've got to have a lifting plan, and our lifting plan is in the shape of a standard operating procedure, or SOP as they're commonly known. So the SOP, because we're doing this all the time, has got pictures in it, and it lists exactly how to do things, and I believe Liz might have already showed you that, or she will show you it after this. So the first thing I'm going to ascertain is whether the equipment is capable of lifting what we're going to be lifting, so I need to know the weight of what we're going to be lifting. So we're going to be putting a sheet of 2 millimetres on, and I know that one sheet equals 50 kilograms. So whether the equipment is capable of it. So the beam itself, the safe working load is 200 kilos, and with the vacuum beam attached, it's 135 kilos. I've already ascertained that everything above here has been checked, inspected and serviced annually, and anything below here has been checked 6 monthly, and it's also serviced annually. So every operator that uses this has a training and is an authorised user, and that's registered that they've had that training. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be removing a sheet from here. So before I do that, I want to make sure that everything's okay. So it's just a quick visual because I know it's been inspected. And one of the things I'm doing, I'm looking at the gantry, the hoist itself, whether that's fit. There's nothing hanging off, there's nothing that appears to be damaged or anything. Then I'm looking at the hoist itself, the electrics, the cable, whether that's serviceable and in good working order. I'm also looking at the crane chaining here itself, what I can see, is that okay? And then finally the hook, is that clasp okay? Is it stretched or anything like that? The chances are it won't be, but it's worth checking. Next, the vacuum beam itself, I'm just going to lift it up, I'm going to check the controls. I also want to check the emergency stop that works, which it does. I'm then going to check the pads, make sure there's no splits or tears or anything like that, or anything obvious, and then the actual structure itselff, whether that looks stable, there's no bits missing or falling off, everything seems to be there, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this sheet of 2 mil, which is slightly less than a full-sized sheet, so I know it's less than 50 kilograms. So I slide this out off the rack, and I'll lower this down. I'm going to make sure that this is adjusted correctly for this sheet, which it is, making sure that all the pads are going to be touching, making sure that everything has been locked off, so nothing's going to move after. I'll then place it centrally onto the sheet itself, making sure that there's slack on there. I'm going to turn the power on, and then what I'm looking at is here is the actual state of the vacuum itself, and as you can see there's no vacuum there at all. I'm going to just activate it, and I'll lift it as soon as it gets within the green. Anything in the green, that's fine. Okay, I'm then going to gently lift up, but before I do, I'm just going to make sure that my sweep area is clear, because obviously something like this very thin at chest level could be dangerous, could be plastic dangerous. So very gently, I'm using the controls and they're gently lifted, and I'm going to make sure that there's no stiction between the sheets alone and that they don't stick together. And that's lifted clear. I then make sure that I'm out of the way and I lift the sheets up. I'm going to travel in that direction, so I'm slowly going to go there all the times. I'm observing whether there's anybody within the vicinity to speak to the train. In there, make sure there's enough slack there for when I lower it down. It's now in position. I can then turn this off and return it to its storage point. Clear from any sharp objects or anything, and locking that in. There you go.
Thank you. Before we move on to any question Q&As, this morning the SHP article has come out with regards to some new guidance. So we are, this is actually really hot off the press. We've not had time to review it thoroughly ourselves inside out and back to front, but Colette's taken a bit of time to some highlight some points to feed back to you.
So I think the main key points really for me within the organisation are to look at the GN28 guidance, because it really has a reflection around about counterbalance trucks, rough terrain trucks, FLTs, and the inspections that are required around about those items. So it's going to affect us in our warehousing quite substantially, because we have trucks that have man-ups for our people. We also have trucks that have attachments onto them. So with the new guidance coming out, we have to now look at our planned preventive maintenance regimes, because a lot of that inspection now will go down to 6 months. So for example, if we're looking at a truck that's got an operator, we'll now be looking at having those thorough examinations every 6 months by our insurers. So for example, within Unipart Logistics, Rail, and within the NHS contract, that's carried out by Zurich or on their Crimson system. So it's something that for us as an organisation, we're going to have to make sure that we're working very closely with facilities and the insurers to meet that guidance that's come out today. So it'd be really worthwhile for you to take that time and look at that GN28, just so that you fully understand what implications that's got for you. And then again, take that back to your risk assessment and make sure that you've got all of these adjustments added into that as well. So it's hot off the press, but again, it's something that we have to be enforcing moving forward. And just so that you understand as well, the provision and use of work equipment regulations haven't changed, and neither have LOLER. It's just around about the thorough examination and inspection. So it's worthwhile to keep that as one of your hot topics for the month. Thanks.
Thanks, Colette. We will absolutely make sure that that article's shared as well at the end of this. So I think it's over to Melissa, who's going to sort of manage the Q&A session.
Yes, hello everyone, and thanks Liz and the team for this session. So I'm Melissa Mark Joyce, I'm the chair for the Chiltern branch, and we were really grateful for Staffordshire branch and Bernard to they agreed to support our summer school series of events. So something different we're doing. So as you've seen in this event and previous ones, it's really just a bite-sized conversation on a particular risk focus area. So today was LOLER. So thanks, Liz. We haven't gotten a lot of questions coming in, a lot of comments. That was a good demo. A couple of people have asked if you will share your SOP document, which you've said you will. One question that came up was, include a brief details of an example of a lifting plan as per LOLER. So I guess your SOP versus the lifting plan. Do you want to maybe elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't particularly do a lifting plan in our MetLase operation, but we absolutely do have lifting plans in our logistics business. Not the normal logistics business, but within the rail logistics business. Mainly because we lift really big rail parts. So we lift train wheel sets, and they are very specific. Because they're extremely heavy, and they're in actually quite a tight environment. So yeah, I'm more than happy to share one of our lifting plans as well. I don't specifically think I have one ready to share just yet, just now on the screen, but I'll absolutely send one out that you can have a look at. And if anyone wants to send me any questions, more than happy to take them on that as well.
Thanks, Liz. We actually have Kieran Delaney, one of the vice presidents of IOSH, joining us today. So welcome. Thanks for joining our summer school series. And you've posted a question. I didn't know if you want to come off mute and ask it.
How you doing, folks? Thanks, Melissa. It's just something that I'm really concerned about. My background used to be the glazing industry, and there would be huge panels being lifted up on vacuum lifts, similar to what was demonstrated in the video. The problem is, though, that despite my former colleagues' best efforts, you'd have people walking in through the isolation area taking a shortcut because they didn't see the dangers. And I just wanted to emphasize that if a pane of glass, for example, or a sheet of metal drops, amputation at a minimum, death most certainly, and to give a personal experience, not related to lifting, but in relation to glass, what the damage you can do. I was involved in the recovery after an explosion at St. Mary's Axe in London. After things had calmed down, basically glass started coming loose from the frames. And one of the City of London police inspectors left a shout, eyes down. We were told then cover our heads. If you saw the state of our hands and our backs from the shrapnel that came down from the glass, you wouldn't believe it. So what I'm saying to people is, if you're going along and you see something being lifted, no matter where, please respect the isolation area, go that little bit extra, allow the people to focus on the task in hand, because otherwise you could have a scenario where you could have life-altering injuries, or God forbid that your loved ones won't have you coming home after you finish work. I hope that isn't too heavy, but I have seen, right, from other people what the devastating impacts can be, and I just thought it would be appropriate to, as it's talking about lifting, to bring it to your attention. Thanks, Melissa.
Kieran, Alex has got a comment on that as well.
Thanks for that, Kieran. Can I just point out, we're quite a small company. We've got less than 30 people here. Everybody's trained. That area is considered a hazard area, which is marked off, and every visitor who comes there, we control, and we point out these hazard areas to them, and every operator that we have down there is trained in the use of that and fully aware of that. So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, but yeah, we do take that into account. We know how dangerous those thin sheets are at head height.
Yeah, what it is, Alex, is that I appreciate, and I could see how well that you've got everything isolated, but we've got people here from various sectors. So it's just to emphasize to those people that what ye have, right, would be, ye have your structures, but when it's out in sight, if you consider, and if you actually look at YouTube, you will see where a person actually had a leg amputated on site. It's just to reinforce what the fantastic protocols that ye have, but to ask that, when they're doing the toolbox talks, when they're going through their SOP, that they emphasize to other contractors that will be operating in the work area, say in construction or whatever, to respect the isolation area, because I have seen it so many times. But I love the way that everything was done, and your fantastic video really You're well put together, and thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you, Kieran.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran. And you know, and that's the purpose of these sessions, and that's why we've been calling them back to basics, is getting back to the fundamentals around HSE risk and controls. So thanks for that. Joanne had a question. So Joanne, do you want to raise your question?
Yeah, hi. It's just in connection when if you've got a small forklift truck rental organisation who again undertake their own maintenance because they're renting them out to clients, but also doing the thorough examinations. Now, again, with only having a small number of employees and potentially only one person that is actually qualified to do those examinations, potentially have that situation where the same person is basically checking the work that's been done. And again, just wanted to get your thoughts on how that could be effectively managed, and potentially sort of what safeguards they must really need to consider to make sure that clients are comfortable at the fact they've done both parts, basically the maintenance and the examination.
So basically from our side, it would be within that governance piece. So if they're a competent person registered to do that check, then they deem themselves competent and it's signed through the insurers. So from a Unipart perspective, we wouldn't have that as an issue. It also states in the additions from the guidance that if you're not able to do it within a 6-month period, then that has to be VOR'd, which is vehicle under repair or vehicle not in use. So it's certainly something you should discuss with them face to face and understand what level of competence that they have. But ultimately, you know, you need to be managing that contract with them and your insurance. If there is something that is not right, we legally have that obligation to inform the local authority. And all of this stuff's written into this GN28 document, and we will share it at the end so that you fully understand any risks to you as an individual in the organisation, but also what kind of things to look out for should you be in that situation moving forward. So have a read at that guidance, and I'm sure it'll clarify that for you.
Yeah, that's great. It's more from a, sorry, it's more from a point of view of, you know, that unfortunately they're not able to operate in any other way because they are maybe sort of, it's not me, it's not a company I work for, it's a company I'm aware of, and it's, you know, they only have literally sort of 3 employees and some are out on the road, and you've only got one person in a workshop that is having to do both of those. So it's just more from a, you know, you may not find yourself in that situation, but just that thought of what you had with regards to how they potentially could overcome that.
Yeah, if it was me and I was advising you, I would say I would have an internal quality assurance process. You know, I'd probably write it into any quality management system that I've got. I would probably make sure that there's external verification every now and then, you know, refresher training, etc. So yeah, I get that, you know, these things sort of creep in into small businesses, but I would definitely manage it through my quality management system.
No, that's great, because that's actually how it's been currently done. So it's just reassuring. I thought just trying to get some feedback from somebody else as to whether that's an acceptable approach. And again, I think they've taken guidance from the Forklift Truck Association as well to ensure that's acceptable. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks. A couple of good questions are coming in, so keep them coming. Greg Andrews, you've posted a question. Would you like to come off mute and ask it?
Yeah, sure. So we currently give our operators crane and slinging training from a local provider in person, which is really good. And wondering if that was sort of in line with what you guys have for your operators who create lifting plans. Is that the standard, or is there a supplementary bit of training that you recommend?
So the guys have been on 2 sets of training, haven't you? So actually, Josh, you're qualified now, aren't you, to deliver?
Yeah, so I'm an in-house trainer now for MetLase for doing in-house training on lifting and slinging. But that does include sort of a bit of experience with lifting plans, but a lot of that comes under LOLER, which is more of what Alex has done as well. So it's sort of working as a sort of a joint sort of team.
Yeah,
we've realised that the things that we're picking up are getting heavier and heavier and more complicated. So before, what we used to be able to lift by hand, we can no longer do. So we identified that we had a gap there to do with to do with training. So that's why Liz kindly organised the training for us, and we've gone through it, and we've put together a lifting programme, and we're going to take all our operators through that lifting programme and get them all trained up. And like all our training, it will be logged and registered, and it will be reviewed annually, as and when.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
It's good, important around the training and demonstrating skills and knowledge. Alan, our very own Alan, had posted a couple of questions. So Alan, you want to raise those into the room?
Yeah, I'll try, Melissa. Thank you. My neighbours just decided to try and, well, they're trimming their lawn, so hopefully if it comes too noisy, you'll have to take over. Yeah, it was a couple of questions, really. It was, in terms of heavier lifts, do you use the same operating procedure that you outlined? I assume you do, but just to translate that into perhaps more complex lifts, when you said you're actually lifting train bodies and so on, so quite extreme weights there. Yeah, I think my other question was, how do you record routine checks, or if they, potential failures or damage that might happen in use? How does that integrate into your system?
We'll hit the first one first. So no, our bigger, because this is quite a routine task, we manage that through the standard operating procedure. Our bigger lifting operations, which aren't actually done by MetLase, they're done by Unipart rail, so that's part of my remit, not sort of in Alex or Josh's remit, but we do have specific lifting plans with that. I'm sorry I haven't included that on the session, but yeah, obviously if you want some a follow-up session, more than happy to do one on site at our Hexthorpe and show you our specific lifting plans. And then just to go on to the question with regards to the pre-operation checks, we record them on a Google sheet. It's like a Google form, same Microsoft Forms. You can do them on any way, but we do record them daily. And then I think probably over to you guys. Really think for your non-conformances where you've got any damage outside of that.
We've got a maintenance spreadsheet that's digital and it's visual, and up in the workshop that was on that big screen there. And it gives us all the equipment status. Anything that happens with the equipment, any damage or repairs or anything is logged there as well. So we've got something that's archived. And like I say, anything that has an anniversary, like the lifting, or it could be compressor checks, or it could be air vessel, air receiver checks and things like that. That's all recorded, and it flags it up when they're due.
You can also see that from the ComCell, so from that TV screen.
Yeah.
Unipart as an organisation are very digitally minded. So we all have a ComCell. Your ComCell at ground level hooks into a hierarchy of these all throughout the business. But when we look at the one that's here in MetLase, you can look at everything from one screen. You can also look at trend analysis, any incidents that have happened, quality reports, the PPM, everything's all in one place. So you just press a few buttons and it's all quite happily there to be shared with you.
Obviously, what we see is the front sheet, which is the immediate information that you need. If you want to find anything more, you just access the actual document itself and just get into it.
We'll ask our management team here if they're comfortable with us sharing that with you as well. So the spreadsheet, I just need to check with them that they're fine with that. But I can't see there being an issue. But again, we'll try and see if we can share that.
Okay. Thanks very much for that. And just a rider to that, I suppose. Actually, our doorbell just rang, just to add to the cacophony around me at the moment. Did you devise that system yourselves, or did you have assistants to do it? And I do like the screen being available as well. That looks a fantastic.
Yeah. It's a bit of both, really. So you'll hear me talk about the Unipart way quite a lot. So we've got it's 18 core principles, and we've got some core tools, and the ComCell is one of those. The idea of the ComCell is that every day you get around your digital screen, you look at your safety cross, your COVID-S, you've got things that we call OCCs, which are improvement processes. and that's just sort of part of that. MetLase have kind of taken it a step further, and Josh is taken the lead on that and developed the system.
Yeah, so not everything always fits into it, so it's all about trying to make it work for us. So yeah, the systems is something we've developed ourselves. I mean, I've had 7 years at Rolls-Royce maintenance, so I know maintenance systems quite well. So I've sort of based it on that. I based it on what I know from previous sort of experience. But yeah, it's a system we've created ourselves in-house. Yeah.
I think, yeah, again, just to add to that, I see that Melissa just posted in the chat the pre-event reading that we flagged up from, I can't remember if it was Essex or East Anglia branch, but on LOLER, you know, going through the regulations side. So recommend people do check that out as well to put everything into context. As you said, it's a helpful regulations in being so specific.
No, thanks, Alan. Yeah, so one of the things we've been trying to do with this, with these summer series, is to link with other branch presentations that may have gone in the past on similar topics. So, you know, you would notice we didn't do a deep dive on the specific regulations here, but that link there will give you a presentation that goes into a bit more detail. No other questions have come through just yet, but I just want to promote the upcoming rest of series in the summer school for the rest of this month while people think of other questions, and then we'll hand back over to Bernard again. Really value, this is one of the benefits of this virtual world. I know it's been a big transition, but one of the benefits is that, you know, we've been able to connect with Staffordshire branch to do this joint session and see other branch events. But next week is slip, trips, and falls. The following week is chemical safety. The 18th is asbestos. I may have mixed that up by a week. And then we have PPE. So next week, the 11th, sorry, is slip, trips, and falls. The 18th is chemical safety. The 25th will be asbestos. And the first Wednesday in September would be PPE. So we started off with risk assessment and pure, and we'll be ending with the lowest level in the hierarchy of controls, PPE. So, you know, do look out for the comms on these. These are being supported by the other Midlands and East Region branches. But again, bite size, but we always, for every session, we point you to one or two other topics, presentations on the topic. So yeah, good. No other questions, but let me just ask if anyone has any questions. Alan, yes?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, well corrected there. Yeah, you went through the whole list accurately, so thank you for that. And in fact, I was having a conversation with Brenton at the start of this session. I can see a B2B2, Back to Basics 2 series coming on. Quite when we'll run that, maybe that'll have to be a winter series or something, but I think they have been well attended. And Lizzie's offer of covering the sort of, we've had questions about lifting plans and so on. So yeah, I think that's, you know, I can see there's logical follow on. Be interested Kieran's point of view on that as well. I think it's a novel approach. So thanks for Staffordshire branch for helping us out.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Alan. Alan has been the brainchild behind this series. He talked about it for a few months and executed it. And because we felt that we needed to get back to the fundamentals of our risk profiles, so hence these topics. So I'll hand back over to Bernard for any closing pieces, unless Kieran or anyone else wanted to raise any last questions or comments.
Right, okay. So I would like to say big thank you to Liz, Colette, Alex, and Josh. It's fantastic presentation and demonstration. I think this shows the practical approach to health and safety, obviously today related to LOLER, but I think this is what we need as a profession, just more practical approach, best practices, and we can share, we can learn from each other. So thank you very much to the team for organizing this. And I would like to say thank you to everybody. We've got over 100 attendees today, so fantastic participation, great questions, and a great event. So thank you very much to all of you. Alan, I just hand over to you for last sentence, and then we can close it out. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Bernard. And this was the first one that we've, really worked as closely. So it's very much thanks to you, Liz, and her colleagues at the company for delivering. The feedback has been, great session. That's exactly what we wanted. Back to basics. We know these are the things that are still killing and injuring people, making people unwell. So please do follow the rest of our sessions. But the key thing is, we've well over 100 people here today, but it's not about numbers attending on the day. These are all being recorded. Some excellent sessions presented by other IOSH branches, unfortunately, haven't been recorded. And it's the Q&A, as we can tell from today, that discussion, that interactive approach, which I value so much personally. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the effort you've put into your team. This is having formed a brand new committee, a new venture for you guys. I think your first event in 5 months since the committee was formed. So, well done, you guys, and keep it up. That was excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all. Right.
Have a safe rest of the week, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.